Hello, everybody. I'm John.
I'm Justin.
And this is
Gore
Goblins, the show where we talk about horror movies we like
Some we don't.
and some we've never seen before.
And some aren't even horror movies. Like this movie.
Yeah. We watched Tenebrae.
Tenebrae.
That's what we watched. A baby's first giallo. And by baby, I mean Justin.
Fuck
So it's a giallo movie.
Giallo.
1982, Dario Argento, director of Suspiria, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Deep
I like
Red,
Suspiria.
all these other ones.
Well,
The original Suspiria, not the remake. The remake was Luca something.
It was still good.
I don't know how to say his last name. Yeah, but I know. I'm not saying it. But yeah, Dario Argento's Tenebrae, 1982. I already said all of that. But yeah, it's a giallo, however the fuck you say it, which means yellow in Italy.
Then we're gonna say giallo.
In Italian. And the reason that genre is called giallo is it's like a pulpy, schlocky kind of mystery that's also really violent and gory and sexual. And
Why didn't we watch that one? No.
I mean, that's what they all are. But this one,
No.
it takes its title because a lot of Pulp Fiction novels in Italy in like the 50s and 60s, I think,
Pulp Fiction
had yellow covers, so they just became known as giallo because they're yellow, and that's what this is. But this movie's interesting.
Is it?
Yes, because it came out at a time because Dario Argento pretty much like made giallo what it is with Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Deep Red, Cat of Nine Tails. What was it? Four Velvet Fireflies on a Grave or whatever the fuck it's called. You know, those are the movies that kind of made that genre. And then he went on and did Suspiria and Inferno, which are not giallo. They're supernatural horror movies. And then he came back to do Tenebrae just because he fucking felt like it, I guess. Well, it's partially because working on Inferno was like working with a Hollywood studio, and he hated it, as most directors seem to hate. He was like, I'll just go back to this. And I want to get into like how it's kind of like seems like an answer to his critics of his earlier works, and I guess critics of the giallo genre as a whole, because giallo, you know, it's like a progenitor for slashers. It's very violent, and this was in the 70s, mind you. I was telling Justin when we were watching it that, like, because I think you mentioned that this has like every trope imaginable, and I told Justin, yeah, because every director and every horror movie that you like ripped off of some director from Italy or Europe that nobody fucking knows about.
I didn't mean to horror movies. It was like watching some soap opera unfold.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
Had fucking murder, an affair.
Yeah.
A weird twist at the end.
Spoilers, by the way. We're gonna spoil this.
Weird piano in the background.
What I want to do first, because I realize that I've been recommending it after spoiling the movie, is just talking about whether or not we recommend it at the beginning. So that way, if you're so inclined, you can watch it first. All 10 of you can watch it first and then come and listen to us talk about it.
I believe we have at least 250 fans.
250, huh?
That's what I believe.
That's the number you're going to go with? Huh?
Yes.
All right.
I have faith in this.
That's why we're not sponsored, huh?
I feel their
we get
presence.
250. No, yeah,
the
that's
sponsors
good.
are afraid of our powers.
That's completely fair. I also think I might have to like seek out sponsors, but I don't think we have enough of an audience anyway. That doesn't matter. Why am I talking about this shit? It doesn't matter. The point is we're just gonna talk about what we think of the movie and if we recommend it. Justin, what'd you think of the movie? Would you recommend it?
Normally, this is not a movie I would watch.
Mm-hmm.
But after watching it, like I do with most movies, I typically say I would never watch it. It's fine. I liked it. Would I watch it again? Probably not.
Yeah.
Because I'd probably forget this movie exists.
Classic Justin response there.
It was entertaining. It had its charm.
It's very charming.
Yeah, very.
It's very of the time.
The only annoying thing is what they did with the voices, and it just bothered me the entire time.
We'll talk about that. Oh boy, I can't wait. I love this
fucking
movie
hated
so
that.
much. But yeah, anyway.
And then, I got into the movie because, a little bit ways through, I was trying to figure out already who the fuck the killer was. I was partially right.
I can't wait for us to cover Scream, because that's what you're going to be doing
Scream.
for 5 movies. You're just going to
the
be
fuck-
trying to figure out who the killer is. It's kind of obvious in almost all of them, but
I remember nobody's name from the movie though.
from which movie?
What we just
Oh,
watched.
Tenebrae? Okay, I thought we were
Except for Peter and Anne
Peter Neal
and Jane. I don't know the detective's name because it was too hard to say.
it was something. I just call him detective. I can't say his
he's
name
just
either.
Detective.
Altieri was his partner.
You got fake Agent Scully in this.
That's Altieri, yeah. And then Bertie. I don't remember his first name. It's some Italian shit. But Bertie is like I guess a talk show host, and then Bulmer is his agent, and
Pussy ass Johnny.
and then Johnny, and then I think Marie was the name of the girl that lived in the fucking apartment or the hotel he was staying
The
at.
jailbait, as he put it.
Yeah, he called her
Fucking
jailbait.
weirdo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's right, kind of, I guess. I don't know.
You just don't look at an underage girl. That's all you do.
Well, I don't know if she was underage.
She's 17.
At least not. Well, in Italy, that's not underage.
Oh, well,
In Italy, the age of consent is like 15, I
we're
think.
not talking about Italy.
14 or 15.
Jesus Christ, Italy.
That's where it is. In Japan, I think it's like 14 too. It's weird, man.
I like some of your bands, but calm the fuck down.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, would you recommend it, Justin?
If you're into mystery movies and shit, yeah.
But would you personally recommend it?
To people I know?
Yes.
Probably not to people I know, but because unless they like the movies, I don't know. My mom might like it.
So, giallo seems like a very acquired taste, and it seems to be a genre that lines up with almost everything that I look for in a schlocky fucking mystery movie. I love Last Night in Soho, which takes a lot of inspiration from the genre.
Ho, ho, ho.
And that's a movie that I want to cover eventually, if it ever comes through whenever we do the little wheel. But it's definitely, you have to like be into it, I guess, because the movie's very schlocky. It came out in 1982, and I guess Italian movies had this habit of overdubbing the dialogue for some reason. And it's weird because everything was performed in English.
So there was no fucking reason to do this.
But they just overdubbed it. And I don't know if that's a marketing thing or an international thing. I don't know. But I feel like that's also just what went on in the 70s and 80s. Because a lot of older movies, up until recently, the only version available in America was dubbed, for better or for worse. And when you have a lot of Italian actors that are speaking broken English because they're performing a scene in English, I guess they just dub it over because why not? A lot of Italian Westerns are like that. And a lot of just foreign films in general have that issue. But like I said, up until recently, that's different. Now you can watch Godzilla in Japanese with subtitles, no issue. But back in the day, you could only buy the VHS that was dubbed in English, and it was bad. But you still watched it because you were a kid and you loved Godzilla. That was me. But it's part of the charm for me.
I mean, yeah, it's entertaining at least.
It feels
it made the movie more funny than it should have been at times.
Yeah, definitely. There,
like I can give Godzilla a pass for that, but not this.
But yeah, I think it just comes down to, I think it had to do with like international markets because it was an Italian film, and they thought they'd have a better chance if it was filmed in English and recorded in English. And I still don't think it did very well because the versions that were made available outside of Italy, and even in Italy at the time, were heavily censored because in the 80s, everybody was afraid of everything that was morally objectionable. Thanks, Reagan. Anyway, so...
I mean, that sounds like what goes on now.
Well, not really the same because now you can watch The Walking Dead on network cable where a zombie gets eviscerated in half, but they can't say fuck for whatever reason.
Yeah, until someone goes on the internet and bitches about it.
Yeah, and then they release it on
This
the Blu-ray
has
or
offended
whatever.
me,
But
so I'm gonna cancel it.
well, no, that's not canceled though. I already made this point a while back. It's not canceled. Nothing gets canceled. People
I'm
just complain
making
about
fun of stupid people.
it. And it's like
I
It's-
hate this generation.
and the same thing happened in the 80s. We're part of that generation, Justin.
No, I'm not. Don't let me in with them.
You complain about stuff all the time. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's
but
okay.
I don't go out of my way to get shit shut down. Or
I don't
make
think-
some big deal.
I don't think anybody else does either. I think companies just try to make money.
I do my complaining, then I forget about it an hour later.
I think most people do that. I think the companies just want money, so they try to predict which way the wind is going to blow, and then they do whatever they're going to do. But even then, nothing really changes. Everything that is canceled is still available
Yeah.
in all its glory or whatever the fuck. There's no consequences for anything if you make enough money is my point. That's what I'm getting at. But that's besides the point, because in the 80s, nobody liked violent stuff. That's why Friday the 13th got heavily censored, all that
Fuck
stuff. We talked about that
censors.
before. But yeah, it was heavily censored and all that. But now, thanks to Arrow, and I think in America it was released by Severin Films, but in the UK it was released by Arrow Video, which is the version I have on 4K, because I was at a record shop, Waterloo in Austin,
Waterloo.
and they just had it, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'll buy it." So I bought it, not knowing what it was, just knowing that it was Dario Argento and that it was a giallo, and I was like, "I've been meaning to watch these, and why not?" And I watched it, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. I loved it a lot. I like how stylized the violence is. I like the deeper themes and meanings of the story, because there's a lot of that, surprisingly. And I like the charm of it, the schlockiness of it, all of that. It's right up my fucking alley. I love it. I love it so much. It's got like a low budget feel to it.
Yeah, it does.
It's great. I love it so much. Ooh, the performances are awful because Dario Argento didn't really direct his actors. He just kind of let them do whatever they wanted.
I mean, I can't even give them a true acting like score or whatever, because that whole dialogue thing just threw me off.
Well, also a lot of them are, native Italian speakers that don't speak a lot of English, so there's that too.
Still.
And then there's the fact that, Dario Argento just famously never directed his actors. And in fact, he would get frustrated with actors that would constantly ask him what he wanted from them, because he'd be like, "Oh, just do whatever the fuck you want." And they're like, "But okay, but what am I trying to accomplish here?" And then, Dario Argento would just get upset. He's a great, he used to be, I should say.
It sounds like me trying to tell people what to do at work.
He used to be really good at making suspenseful stuff. He used to be good at writing. He used to be good at shot composition, and now he's kind of not. But that's fine, because his old movies still exist, and they all got that charm that I love it. So, I'd recommend it just because I think everybody should watch at least one giallo. And from what I've heard, that was a loud squeak. But from what I've heard, this is probably one of the better ones to watch, because it has like so many different layers to it.
I mean, if you're just bored, yeah, I'd recommend it.
Justin didn't like it. Anyway,
I liked the movie.
So
it entertained me. I didn't look at my phone once while we were watching it.
Yeah, because that's because you were just trying to figure out who the killer was. That was the
Exactly.
only reason.
It brought me in. I got invested.
Which, this movie's got a few twists and turns, as any good giallo does, from what I
It
understand.
had like 2.
That's a few. It's more than one. More than one is a few. I don't care. Anyway,
No.
so yeah, here we are.
You have 2 shoes. That's not a few shoes.
It is to me.
No.
If I got 2 pairs of shoes, I'll say I got a few pairs of shoes.
Because that's 4 shoes.
That's pairs, though. I'm talking about pairs. Listen to us. It's like we never stopped working together. Anyway,
Didn't.
this is giallo. I recommend it just because I think it's great. But before we get into this, well, no, I guess we could talk about it as we're going over the plot.
The plot.
If you want to watch the movie, just fucking rent it somewhere. I don't know. I got the Arrow video release from the UK. It came with a lot of special features. Came with a whole ass fucking book with like essays analyzing it and shit, which is cool. I like that kind of stuff. I like reading about like what other people think of movies and what they think the director's intent was. It's very interesting to me for some reason.
I don't like reading at all.
Well, that's because readings kind of sucks. But readings kind of sucks.
Except if I'm watching anime.
But I only like reading about stuff I care about.
Yeah,
and I care about movies. So here we are.
I read a Gears of War book once.
I believe that actually. Did
really
you ever read any of the Halo books?
One, but I got bored.
Yeah.
Because it spent like this overly long paragraph describing this Marine dying, like in very slow detail.
That's art, baby. That's art. Describing how people die.
Like he got shot by a grunt with a plasma pistol.
Wow, what a pussy.
Yeah.
When he died, he got killed by a grunt.
It was
Anyway.
like grunts and jackals and shit.
Anyway, but yeah, so I don't know if there's any like sidetrack stuff to talk about yet. I'm sure we'll come across it later on. Nothing of interest has really happened that I can talk about on
really
here.
been going on.
I mean, I guess Black Panther came out. That's cool.
I haven't seen it.
I went to go see it. I liked the first one more. And that's not just because Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away. It's just I don't know. It felt
The
messy.
first movie itself didn't even have that much charm to it. They were just riding on the Black Panther thing.
From like Civil War? What do you mean the Black Panther thing?
No, just that it was gonna be a black movie. I don't know.
That it was because that's significant.
Yeah, it's significant. But
Yeah, so I guess
that's all they were leaning towards.
I mean, I guess, but like Killmonger was a good villain.
Yeah, Killmonger was great.
Killmonger
Unless
was
you
a
ask
good
Josh.
villain. Yeah, Josh didn't like Killmonger because Josh is. I'm not gonna say that anyway. But I'll get sued potentially. But no, Killmonger was a good villain. And mind you, I watched certified sidetrack segment. I rewatched Black Panther because I had seen like half of it a long time ago. So I rewatched it, and I was like, yeah, it was pretty all right. Like I'm not gonna say it was like the best MCU movie because I don't think it's not my favorite, but like I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. Killmonger's a good villain. I liked a lot of the camera work. I liked the soundtrack a lot. I liked a lot of it. It wasn't perfect. No MCU movie is, if we're being fair. But it was a fun little time. I thought, shut up. I thought Chadwick Boseman was really good in it. T'Challa's a cool guy. It's whatever. I thought it was cool. And then he passed away in like 2020, I think. And then you got Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Now, personally, and this is a bit of a hot take, I guess, but personally, I think, especially with the multiverse existing now in the MCU, I think it would have been better if they had just recast him because they've done that before. They did that just recently with Thunderbolt Ross because that actor died. They did it with Edward Norton. They did it with Terrence Howard. It's not uncommon for them to recast. Yeah. And I don't know. I was talking to one of my friends about it, and he was talking about how personally for him, Black Panther is such like an important character to him, like T'Challa especially is such an important character to him that he feels like just letting him die with Chadwick is kind of a mistake. And I'm inclined to agree. But I get it. Ryan Coogler wanted to, make it a tribute to him and all that stuff, and it was a very fitting tribute. It was, it was nice. It was nice, but the rest of the movie was kind of a mess. I mean, I still liked it, but like, I like the first one a little bit more. But that's what I saw that on Thursday, I think.
I probably won't watch it till it comes to Disney Plus,
which will be in like 2 months, probably.
Even then, I'll probably forget for the longest time.
Yeah, it'll be in like 2 months. Yeah, I mean,
the main reason I don't want to see it is because of Ironheart.
Yeah, Justin doesn't like Ironheart.
That is just a garbage character.
Because he has similarities with his brother he doesn't want to admit.
No, you dumb motherfucker. It is just a trash character. Like,
yeah, I know a lot of people don't like Ironheart.
Comics were so fucking boring. Everything she got, she like doesn't deserve.
Well, I mean, she's really smart
Oh
though.
wow, you get a fucking
Just
blanket
like Tony.
excuse.
Tony's really. You're telling me Tony deserved his wealth because he just happened to be
Nah,
really smart
he had
and decided to
he had
commit war
character
crimes?
flaws that made him relatable.
So, Ironheart's in fucking college. How is that not relatable?
Because I'm not in college.
What? Yeah, you're not in college. But no, it's I don't know. Her
I
character.
don't know, it's just long established characters getting replaced just doesn't seem to work out. Like none of them. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess.
Like Asian Hulk didn't work out.
There was an Asian Hulk.
Yeah, nobody
I don't
liked that
remember
comic either.
I don't even. I haven't even heard of that. But there's you know, I don't know. She just felt kind of shoehorned in because they got to set up other stuff. They got to set up her show, I guess. Because I forgot she was getting a show. They got to set up her show. They got to do all that shit. Yeah. So that's why she was in it. And they also did a lot of setting up for the what is it, Thunderbolts, Thunderbirds, whatever the fuck it's gonna be called with everybody.
Yeah, Thunderbolts.
With all the B characters. I don't know.
Bad guys.
I don't care.
Anti-heroes.
I don't care. I'm probably not gonna watch that. But it just felt weird how the movie was like half trying to be a tribute to Chadwick Boseman and its own thing while also still having to set up everything else in the fucking MCU, which is the problem with most of those movies. But it's fine. It was all right. Ironheart's character was just I don't know, she was just a girl. I don't know what to tell you. Like it doesn't bother me at all. I don't care enough about comics to get upset about this. I really don't. Like you could have replaced actors like midway through the MCU and I would have just been like, all right, I guess. I don't know. Batman's been replaced like 5 fucking times. I haven't cared once. And I love Batman. He's like one of my favorite superheroes. And he's been recast I don't know how many times in different stories. And I'm just like, whatever. I'm like, that's fine. I think I stopped caring about that stuff whenever I graduated high school, if I'm going to be honest. I don't know. But I don't know. Comic book movies aren't like high on my priority list, I guess. I don't know. Schlocky shit like this is. Like Tenebrae. Schlocky shit like that is on my fucking hit list now. I love this. But yeah, that's all I got for Certified Sidetrack segment. I think Justin's just been working and sleeping, which is most of what I've been doing since outside of seeing Black Panther.
I started playing Gears again.
Yeah, that's cool.
You should join in on that.
Didn't you say that you haven't touched your Xbox in like...
Yeah, but I started playing it again because I had to beat my friend's ass at a Demon Slayer game.
Demon Slayer?
Yeah.
That's an anime, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know anything about that.
I'm getting addicted to anime again.
Again? You already were. You've been addicted to anime.
Even more.
Ever since you were a child.
Nah.
Ever since Naruto, whatever the fuck it is. I don't know how to say it. Everybody gets mad at me when I say it one way.
Naruto?
Naruto. Some people say Naruto. And I'm
they're
like,
stupid.
I'm like, is that how you say it?
That's what I hate. People who mispronounce shit from anime.
But like, what's the official pronunciation? Because Tekken's official pronunciation is technically Tekken. I'm not joking.
That's not a chicken.
That's like literally what it's
I
called.
know.
I'm gonna stab you. Anyway, that's like literally how they pronounce it. It's weird. I don't like it. It bugs me because I've always been saying Tekken my whole life. Anyway, that's enough of the sidetrack stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, let's get back to this mystery.
Tenebrae. It's a movie about a book. That's how it starts anyway.
Movie about a book. You hear that?
Well, I mean, kind of. Yeah.
This is for you intellectuals.
It starts or people that think they're intellectuals like me.
Yeah, you don't have to be smart to watch this.
So, there's so the movie starts with a dude just reading a book. He's wearing his black gloves, his black leather gloves, which is a trademark.
There's fire behind him.
Which is a trademark in the giallo genre. Is the black gloved killer, which is always played by Dario Argento. I should stress. He always plays the black gloved killer in his movies. And
does he? No.
Yes. So he's reading the book. He's going about his business. He's reading about how how the character in the book committed the taboo act of murder and annihilation is what was going to set him free and all that bullshit. And he was just like, oh, okay. And then he throws the book into the fire. and then this funky ass, fucking synthy ass, 80s ass music starts. And the music in this movie is done by like 3/4 of a band called Goblin. Goblin.
Oh,
Goblin did the yeah, right? Goblin did the soundtrack for Deep Red and Suspiria. And
the song kind of reminded me of Thriller.
yeah, a little bit. I can see that. And then Dario Argento wanted Goblin to do the soundtrack for Tenebrae, but Goblin had broken up, and one of their members, I believe the drummer, went on to continue under the name of Goblin, so they couldn't use that name. So they were just like, the other three of them were just like, fuck it, we'll just make the music and just credit us with our real names. So that's what they did. And then the movie switches to a shot of a man in New York wearing a bike tracksuit, a light blue tracksuit, riding a bike on the bridge in New York.
Heavy traffic.
And then just in fucking traffic. My man's got no fear, but he's just in traffic. And there's a guy behind him in a truck that's waving at him, or that's like waving at the camera probably. And then it's funny because Peter Neal, who is the man on the bike, looks behind him and looks at the truck, and then the camera cuts, and then the truck's gone. And I'd like to think that Peter Neal turned around and evaporated that truck with his gaze, and and just continued to bike because he ruined the shot. So he just continued to bike to the airport. He rode a fucking bike to the airport. Who the fuck does that?
With his car following him just so it could collect the bike after he was done.
Who rides a bike? I guess he wanted to be healthy? I don't, whatever. People are fucking
I could make
weird.
a joke that I want to say, but it would spoil the movie.
That's okay. We've all been there. So Tenebrae, you know, I forgot to mention, in Italian it means darkness. So, you know,
the darkness,
which plays into some stuff maybe.
Does it?
I don't think so. But anyway,
I don't think so either.
So he gets to the airport, and you know, he's about to get on his flight to Rome because he's doing a publicity tour for his book, which is called Tenebrae. And
he's a big fan of B-52s.
I guess so. I don't know what joke you're trying to make, but I'll
because they have a song called Rome.
Do they?
Yes.
I don't speak. Listen, man. I'm sorry. I don't speak
or
Italian.
Or is that heart?
I don't know. I don't know who's who in your head anymore.
No, I was just saying that to make you mad.
All you do is sleep now. I don't know who you are anymore. All right?
No, remember I always piss you off.
I remember.
Yeah.
Because Love Shack is by B-52s, and it's a good song. It's a banger, if you will.
Yeah.
It's an all-time classic. But he's at the airport, and he gets a call over the intercom that like there's a phone call on the line for him. So he goes up to the information desk, and he's carrying this like brown like leather bag for luggage, and he's like, "Yeah, Peter Neal, I got a fucking call or whatever." And then, you know, the woman's like, "Yeah, it's over there, this fucking bright ass red ass phone. Why don't you just fucking talk into it?" So then he drops his luggage. First of all, there's this creepy ass woman that's just there, and he looks at her. And then he drops the bag, and he's like, "Yeah, I guess I'm just going to move on." So then he fucking walks over.
I'll leave it here. It'll be safe.
He walks over to the phone, talks to his fiancée, Jane, who we can gather is mentally unstable.
Plain Jane is pretty lame.
And you know, he's talking to her, and he's like, "I'll call you when I get to Rome." And then he hangs up on her. And then he goes back to find that his bag is gone. Oh no!
Oh no! Who saw that coming?
And then he goes around the corner of the information desk, and it's right there. So he's like,
"Oh!" Does a little, there it is.
He's like, "Oh, I guess I'm
no big deal.
I guess I'm stupid." And then he walks away, and he gets on his plane and fucks off to Rome. And while he's fucking off to Rome, the creepy ass woman that was at the information desk knocks on a phone booth, and Jane walks out, wearing a giant white fur coat and these like cat eye shaped sunglasses. I think the commentary track I watched described her as going to the 1950s film noir school of how to be disguised in a crowd or something along those lines. And yeah, it's pretty accurate. It's very gaudy. I don't understand, but I mean, you know, she's living her life. That's one thing about this movie is nobody in this movie is like broke except for like one bum that like tries to assault a woman. But outside of that, everybody in this movie seems to be living pretty well. Everybody's living in like a nice fucking house, ugly ass houses, by the way, I should stress. But
Yeah.
but they're living there, and it's fine, it's happy, it's fun. Anyway, Peter Neal arrives or is on the way to Rome, and then we get a shot of a woman in a store, and she's shopping, and there's a dude just fucking
Dead ass
staring at her
through the glass.
just like oh hey, I see you, and then she's like, oh fucking all right. So then she fucks off to another part of the store, and she goes to the book section where she finds Tenebrae, and she pretends to read it. She does like a shoplifting trick where she picks up 2 copies. She pretends to read it, and she's like looking around, making sure that like the guy, I guess one of the fucking store associates doesn't see her, and while she's pretending to read the book so she can shoplift it, this dude is eyeing her from in between one of the aisles, and he's like breathing real heavy, and he's like doing that kind of thing, classic guy stuff. And then she drops the book into her purse, puts it back on the shelf, and tries to leave. And then the associate in the store accosts her.
He's like, nah, bitch.
He's like, open the bag, and she's like, hey, who the fuck are you? Well,
what are you doing?
Fucking bibbidi bobbidi, you know what I'm saying?
Super Mario.
And then she gets taken to, I guess, his office, and he's like, oh, you shoplifted like 10 times. You think
12.
you think you would have learned by now? 12, whatever. You think you would have learned by
And
now?
she does the typical, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
I'm a sexy girl gonna lean over your desk and be like, oh, you can come to my place anytime. We can resolve this.
Come on, you're not gay, are you? Like, just really, really selling herself. Doing a great job, I might add. And then the guy's like, okay, I got your address. Here's your fucking book. Go away. So then she goes away. She goes back home. And on the way home, this vagrant decides to just try to fucking rape her, I guess. And he just goes after her. And she kicks him in the balls. And he goes down for a bit. And then she runs into, I guess, the gate that leads into her apartment complex, and the vagrant tries to reach through. She smashes his hand with the gate, and that's important from a thematic point, because it's going to come up again later, kind of. And then, he's like, oh, fuck my hand. And then I'll explain all the hoity-toity, artsy-fartsy stuff at the end, Justin. Don't worry, because there's a lot of it. There's a lot more than you'd think.
Well, apparently, I missed a bunch.
For something this schlocky. But he crushes his hand, and then she goes into her apartment. And like any good giallo, she starts taking her clothes off.
She's chilling.
Just gets comfortable. And she tries to make a phone call to somebody. But then the vagrant pops up again, and he's like, and then she's like, and then she like backs away, and then a black glove comes from behind the doorway and takes her back.
Oh,
and then he fucking has like a little razor blade that you use to shave. And mind you, before this murder scene, we see Peter Neal on a plane in Rome, and he's got a copy of The Hounds of Baskerville sitting on his lap. And he's just asleep because he's, reading's fucking boring. So he's, then the woman is getting murdered. She gets the razor like put up against her throat, and the killer's like calling her a thief and a dirty thief in like this really like whispered tone.
Fucking stupid bitch. No.
And he's not saying that. He's not that misogynistic. But then he's ripping the pages out and stuffing them in her mouth.
I don't know why that like bothered me. It just did for some reason.
Yeah, because it's uncomfortable. Having things shoved into your mouth is an uncomfortable thing, as we see twice in the movie, which is a theme where things tend to happen twice in this movie. It's the idea of reflections and doubles and doubling and shit like that. It's just a thematic element.
One thing leads to another, I guess. I don't know.
Kinda. But anyway, so she gets her throat cut. She dies. Killer takes some pictures of it. And he goes away, and then he goes to where Peter Neal is staying, because he knows where Peter Neal is staying, evidently.
Obviously.
And he gives an envelope under the door, and Peter Neal arrives in Rome, and he meets Tilda, which is a reporter that he is fond of, that he knew from, I think, when she studied abroad in America in college. And he meets his promoter, played by John Saxon Balmer, or his agent, played by John Saxon, who plays Nancy's father in Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 3, and then, I guess, himself in New Nightmare.
Yeah.
And you know, he's all happy, and he's like starts getting. I guess he's like at like a little welcome party where Cristiano Berti, that's the dude's name, where Cristiano Berti, television host that's going to interview him at some point, is hanging out. And then Peter Neal is, I think, taking questions from reporters, and Tilda comes up to him, and she's just like, Tenebrae is a sexist novel.
Fuck your male masculine bullshit.
And then she's like, yeah, and then like Peter Neal kind of looks at her, and he's like, sexist? I don't think it's sexist. And then she's like, well, it's women getting killed and
victimized
and victimized and macho men characters and ciphers or
hairy
whatever the
men,
fuck.
whatever she said,
hairy macho bullshit.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm not sexist. He's like, where is this coming from, by the way? I've known you for like 10 years. What is happening? And she's like, look, I'm just talking about your work. And he's like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, I don't think it's sexist. He's like, if you want to hear about me, he's like, I supported the Equality Act and for women in America, and you know, he's talking about all this other shit. And then she's like, is it you that comes up with these sexist fantasies, or do your promoters tell you that that's what sells? And he's just like, listen, I don't want to do this right now. And then like Cristiano Berti, you can see, rolls his eyes a little bit, and then John Saxon's like, hey, let's go somewhere else. And this is very much a what I think. Like, even when I first watched it, before I like went into all the analysis and shit, it very much read to me like a director being like, "Oh, you think I'm sexist? Fuck you. I'm not. I just like making movies. Eat shit." And that's basically what he was saying, because you know, a lot of slashers, and especially giallos, how they, you know, have sexual. A lot of, they're very sexually charged and they're very violent. Usually women are the victims, and Dario Argento, to fan the flames, would often tell reporters that he's like, oh, well, if I'm going to watch somebody get killed, I don't want to see an ugly man die. He's like, I want to watch a beautiful woman die. That's why I kill women in my movies. And he's not serious. He's just trying to fucking piss people off, and it worked. But, you know, a lot of people have called him sexist and called him you know, a maniac, and called him a murderer straight up. And he's just kind of like, no, it's just entertainment. Like, I'm just getting all my dark shit out of my head by making art, which is what art is. Art is expression. Art is getting all the shit out of your head. It's like in Videodrome, another movie that explores shit like this. The idea is that it's better if people get out their, I guess, for lack of a better term, urges out on media and video games or something, instead of doing it in real life. One is clearly better than the other.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's what the point is that he's like, I'm not sexist. I just make movies. Like, that's really it. And a lot of directors have been criticized in that way, like a lot. But you know, it all boils down to the same thing. It's just entertainment. It's just art. They're doing what they're doing to try to, you know, work through it. And you know, there are plenty of directors that have movies about women being victimized and shit that aren't really seen as sexist, but you know, that's because the directors.
Spit on your grave.
But that's because the directors, like David Lynch is an example for this, kind of make it known that their set is usually a very like, I guess, equal place where they don't really, where the women aren't really being victimized, like, by the director. You can't say the same for Stanley Kubrick, because in The Shining, he tortured the shit out of Shelley Duvall, and you know, it came through in her performance, but like, at what cost? You know, he treated her like shit. And meanwhile, you have David Lynch making movies where Isabella Rossellini is like walking naked down the street, all beat up by her lover, and you know, he's just like. But you know, he worked with her on it, and he like, you know, he's like it's fine, like, you know, I'll work with you, make you feel safe, and let you do what you want to do with your character and shit like that. And that's why David Lynch is a good director. But I digress. So, you know, point is, just because women get killed in media doesn't really mean it's sexist.
Yeah.
You're telling a story, and
They're equally part of the story, and they will equally die.
and people also, I feel like for me personally, it kind of takes away when people say shit like that. It takes away from the fact that like these women signed on to the roles. Like it's not like they didn't know what the story was.
Yeah.
It's not like they were kidnapped and forced to star in this movie where they get brutally murdered. It's not how it works. That's not how it works.
And it's a slight hint of realism, too.
And I don't know. It's, because women are victimized in real life all the time. And I guess that might be an issue that might be the issue that people are trying to raise, which is they're saying, oh, well,
This encourages it. No,
it encourages it, but it's not what encourages it. What encourages it is a bunch of other sociological issues that are way too sophisticated and nuanced to get into in a fucking podcast about horror movies.
Yeah.
So I digress.
/ mystery movies.
I'll just argue about it with Justin later and probably murder him in the process, but that's besides the point.
I can't die.
But everybody dies. But anyway, so George, don't touch that. Anyway, so he goes to his apartment, hotel, whatever the fuck it is, after John Saxon shows off that he bought a hat that stays on his head. And what I like about that scene is that behind him you can see Cristiano Berti just kind of creeping in the back.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And I like that. I like how fucking creepy John Steiner is in this movie. That's the actor that plays him. R.I.P. by the way. He died in a car crash earlier this year. Crazy. He was 81 in a car crash. That's fucked up, man. George, don't. Anyway, he goes back to his place and he finds a detective. The detective
just creepily sitting there in the dark.
Yeah, he's just hanging out. He's
got into his apartment before anyone else was there.
A detective and his partner, and I can't remember the fucking detective's name. It started with a G, but probably. Yeah. And then Altieri is his partner. And one thing that you'll notice is that the detective is dressed in a very similar way to Peter Neal, and then the detective's partner is dressed in a very similar way to Anne, who is Peter Neal's, I guess, not chauffeur, but like assistant. And Anne is Peter Neal's assistant.
His secretary.
Secretary, basically, yeah, who he meets with earlier. And she's played by Dario Nicolodi, who's in a lot of Argento films. She was in Suspiria and fucking Inferno, and I think she was in Deep Red. I want to say she was in Deep Red. I don't know, but
You're asking the wrong person.
She was in a lot of Argento stuff. But she's there's this idea that there are doubles of people, which I think plays into like the duality of Peter Neal's personality that comes into play later on in the movie. But like for instance, I already mentioned how there's some things that'll happen twice, and then there are characters that'll look the same, and shit like that. So this is a thematic instance of that. And Peter Neal immediately starts getting questioned by this detective because the novel was at the scene, and the letter was addressed to him. And
like he just got there though.
Yeah, he's like this is my first time in Rome. I just got here. And he sits down and then he's like, "Hey, let me ask you, whenever somebody shoots somebody with a Smith & Wesson revolver, do you go and interview the president of Smith & Wesson?" And then he's like, "Haha, no, obviously." He's like, "But I just wanted to know if you knew anything." And then there's a part where the woman or Altieri, the detective's partner, shows Peter Neal a picture of the woman that was murdered, and he looks at it and he just goes, "No." Like it's a very quick and dismissive no, and it makes me laugh every fucking time.
Don't want to see that.
I love it so much. It's part of the charm, man. I love this fucking movie. But yeah, he so he shoos that away, and then the detective fuck, it's gonna bug me if I don't look up his goddamn name. Hold on. The detective...
Grilled cheese sandwich.
That's not his name. The detective comes up to him and shows him the note that was left, and it's a passage from the book. Germani, motherfucker. Detective Germani. And it's the passage that was from the book, and or like a passage from the book is written on the note that was left for Peter Neal. And then...
and it's in one of those cutout letters from a magazine style.
It's like a serial killer style ransom note, yeah. So then Peter Neal's like, yeah, I don't know anything about this. And then another assistant of his is Johnny, and he's like giving his bag, putting his bag up and everything. And
Johnny's like the Roman ambassador for his book thing or whatever.
yeah, some shit like that. He's a little kid though. He doesn't look that old, but
And of course he's named Johnny because
because why?
because it's the easiest fucking name to come up with.
Is that the easiest name to come up
Yeah.
with? What about Fred? Fred's pretty easy.
It's in line with Johnny.
Is it?
I don't know. I hate the name Johnny
Why?
because any Johnny I've known in real life has been a piece of shit.
You hate a lot of things. Like you hate a lot of
The only
things.
acceptable Johnny is Johnny Cage.
Is he though?
Yeah,
He's kind of a dickhead.
he is.
He's
but
a lovable dickhead,
he
but
grows
he's kind
up.
of a dickhead.
He grows up.
I mean, like after 30 years, yeah,
Played MK11 story, you know.
I'm aware. I remember.
Sonya died for nothing.
Yeah, R.I.P.
That pissed me off.
R.I.P.
so
to
bad.
Sonya and her brilliant voice actor Ronda Rousey.
Oh yeah, that was her.
Yeah, it was fucking awful. But anyway, so Peter Neal gets, everything's calming down. Germani's about to leave, and then Peter Neal gets a phone call, and he picks it up, and he's like, "Oh, it's Peter Neal speaking." And then the guy's like, and then it's the guy, and he recounts a passage from his book, and then he's like, "I have special things planned for you and I. Oh, I'm gonna fucking kill whoever's up in there with you," because he's in the phone booth, which conveniently has a view of the window where Peter Neal is staying, and the detective starts to go down. And Peter Neal's like, I'm gonna keep him talking, but then he fucks up by saying, that girl, that picture, that girl that you killed, I'm assuming he was gonna say, man, she was a looker, which is a weird thing to say, but I'm assuming that's what he was about to say.
How did you know that?
And he's like, how did you know that? And then he runs away, and then Germani and Altieri get down there, and then Altieri is almost hit by a guy in a car, and he has an accident and crashes into a tree or whatever. And then,
I mean, the way it was cut, it looked like he had plenty of time to move.
yeah, it's funny. And then Altieri,
Unlike Ben Tramer.
yeah, poor R.I.P. Ben Tramer, another victim of police violence. But anyway, so Altieri decides to go and tell Germani, yeah, I lost him, and Germani's like, man, I wish I had a male partner that could run faster. And she's like, you'd hate it, you'd have nothing to bitch about. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I love her already. But then after that, we get this sequence where like you see a shadow of a man like having like a fucking mental breakdown. And he's like, "Rah!" He's like freaking out, losing his goddamn mind. And then we see him take some pills, and then it's a flashback to a beach where there's a woman who has like this congregation of boys, like young boys. And she goes out onto the beach. She takes her top off. She's wearing like a white dress. She undoes like the straps, and she's showing off that chest. And then all these boys come up to her. And she kneels down, I should mention. All these boys come up to her.
Should you?
And yes, I should. They're all shirtless. They're all wearing pants, though.
This just looks like the beginning of a porn.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Straight up, this just looks like the beginning of a porn.
And this particular actress was played by a trans person named Eva Robbins, I want to say. She's an Italian transgender activist. And Dario Argento was like, yeah, you got the part. But she isn't treated as a transgender person. She's just treated as a woman, which is interesting. I mean, it's progressive and that's cool. Love that. But like, it's led to theories that it's like, oh, because it plays into the idea that like,
Two people in one.
yeah, something like that. I think, I don't know. There's a lot of weird analysis of it that Argento didn't intend because she just looked good for the part.
People they'll blow out one fucking thing out of proportion.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I mean, people are. I think I've talked about that before. Where like people will a director will make something, and then people will take something completely different from it that the director never intended, and that's what happened here because I think they were trying to argue something about how it implied that like some like deep seated thing with like how she wasn't really a woman or something. And I'm like, I don't think that's what Argento wanted. I'm like, I don't think that was the point of that. But anyway, she's played by a trans actress, super progressive for 1982. That's pretty crazy. Italy, I guess, was okay with it. Not really, actually. I'm gonna touch on that later because Italy did not like that. I should stress. But she's kneeling down to these boys, right? They're all. She's like fawning over them or whatever, and this other dude comes up. And she just looks at like his bulge and she's like, no. And then she just does a thumbs down. And then he gets real mad and he smacks her and it draws blood. And then he, like a fucking coward, he runs away. And then all this bitch does is look at the boys, and then they just like do whatever she wants, and they run after this guy and beat the shit. Where they tackle him. They don't beat the shit out of him, but they tackle him. And then she runs up and spits on him, kicks him in the ribs a couple times, and then she has these really vibrant red heels. Beautiful red heels. I love red heels. They look great. And she puts yeah, I am. She puts like the sole of the heels on the dude's forehead and then just like fucking orally molests him with the fucking heel. And it's very uncomfortable to watch.
The entire time that was happening, I was just thinking, my God, how would that feel? Just to have the...
Not great. And then there's sand on the bottom of it. Fuck that, because they were on a beach. Gross. Anyway,
it hurts.
He does that to her, and this is again the things happening twice. You have the woman who has the novel stuffed in her mouth, and then you have the boy in the flashback getting his heel stuffed in, or the heel stuffed into his mouth, and so that's another thematic thing, and then it goes back to, I guess, present day. And I think it just goes to like this arcade, and there's like this scene of this couple, and this woman's like, "When are you going to take my picture, darling?" And he's like, "Never, sweetheart." And then she just fucking walks off. It's real weird, and
No,
but it's
she does that little
yeah, it's odd.
It's such a fucking weird, cheesy little scene.
I love it so much. Ooh, I love it so much.
It's like some person's idea of how like French or Italian people act.
I love it so much. I mean, Dario's are Italian. I'm gonna assume that he knows better than anybody else.
That's why it's funnier because
I know it's so good. But anyway, so then you have Tilda and her lesbian lover, and they're just hanging out.
What the fuck was her name? All I recognize her is that she just loves to have her boob hanging out.
Yeah, she be having them titties out. Let me tell you. But she's just vibing, and she's ogling at this dude playing pinball or something, or some arcade game, and she's like, "Isn't he handsome? Isn't he? Ooh, And then Tilda's just like, "I fucking guess, bitch. I don't know. Like,
I'm into girls.
like I like women. Why are you asking me? Like, what the fuck?" And then Tilda's lover is like, "Well, hey, you said, Tilda's obviously upset that she's about to get cucked, right?" And then her lover's just like, "Hey, you said that this was the deal or whatever.
I could have my fun on the side."
Yeah, I mean, open relationships don't work for everybody.
That's why you don't get in them.
Believe me, I know, not from personal experience, but just I got friends, all right? But anyway, so she's So then big titty lesbian, I guess that's what I'm gonna fucking call her. The old Tits Ahoy. There we go. Tits Ahoy. I probably shouldn't say that.
Yeah, you shouldn't say that.
Fucking. I mean, but like, that's her character. Like, that's the thing, is that's her fucking character. She's kind of just
call her the left one.
Like, she's literally just she's referred to as a whore by like the person doing the commentary, and then by Tilda herself. But anyway, the lover, fuck it, goes up to this dude.
The left one. No, call her the left one.
The left one? I don't. They're not.
There was always the left one hanging out.
All right, buddy. Anyway, so she walks over to old stud boy.
No, you gotta mention what happens first.
Oh yeah,
him and his friend playing the video game.
Oh yeah. Him and his friend finished playing the video game and just like dab each other up, like just like that.
Like as much intensity as the high five in Predator.
Yeah, it's so fucking like, it's so funny. I love it. I love it so much. And then she's like, "I'll just give me an hour. I'll be back." And then she gives Tilda a kiss, and Tilda's like almost repulsed by it because she's like, "I know where this mouth is gonna be in like 5 minutes."
Well, she was also mad because they had to go to her place to do it.
Oh yeah, because he's like, he doesn't have a place, and I'm like, why are you fucking a dude that doesn't have a place? How, like, I guess, honey, but like, no, that's not. I would never. I could not do that. If a dude's just like, yeah, I've got a place to stay, yeah, that's prime fucking. That's prime fuck material right there. A dude that doesn't have a place to stay. That doesn't raise any red flags. He doesn't have a car. Like, whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
People like that get women all the time. It's why I'm alone. No.
Is it? Is that why? It's not because you're filled
No.
with impotent rage? Anyway, so she fucks off, and then some other dude who's been trying to shoot his shot with Tilda for years pops up, and he's like, "Hey, ooh," and then they talk for a bit, and then you see, and then it cuts to this ugly ass fucking Art Deco house. Not even Art Deco. It's just an ugly ass art house. It's ugly. It looks like shit. And Tilda walks in, and she's like trying to get to her room before the other one wakes up. And then she's like, Tilda? She's like, I drank too much. I'm going to throw up. And it's weird that that's what she's leading with to try to get Tilda to come up to go to bed with her. Because, like, is that like a fetish they have where they just like throw up on each other?
No, she's just trying to make her feel sorry for her.
Yeah, but like, what if it was a fetish though? Wouldn't that be weird?
We don't need to get into
You sure?
that kind of territory.
You sure? Why not?
Because it brings one thing to mind, and I don't want to think about it.
Oh yeah, what is it?
No.
What does it bring to mind,
I'm not
Justin?
gonna mention it.
What does it bring to mind?
No, you know what it is.
I don't actually. I'm genuinely curious. What does it bring to mind?
The video sensation that swept the nation.
Which
when
one?
it came out?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking
there was
about.
vomit in that?
No, but it was the same fucking basic thing.
Was it? I think there's a difference between eating something and throwing it up, Justin. There's a very distinct difference.
I mean, I don't think so, but whatever.
Listen,
It's
man.
equally as gross.
Justin's a little weirdo.
I'm not. I mean, I'm weird, yeah, but not
Yeah.
that weird.
Yeah. I don't know, man. We all got a little weird in us. But anyway, yeah, she's like, I'm gonna throw up, and then Tilda's like, I don't want to see you again. You're a whore. Go talk to your pimp, you slut. And then she walks into her room and she grabs a pair of scissors. And she's like, one day.
Because she's a fucking killer.
And then her lover puts on the soundtrack for the movie.
We get to hear that again.
And then we get this dope ass crane shot that lasts like a minute or two. It's really cool.
Is it?
I love it. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was cool.
It's like this really long crane shot that goes like all around the house, and it ends with you seeing the killer using bolt cutters to get into the house. And then he gets in, and Tilda's like, turn it down, because old girl's taking a shower, so she can't hear her.
She
And
had
then,
just gotten out of the shower.
but she went back in because her hair was still wet.
No, she didn't go back in. She started fucking painting or whatever.
Ah, well, whatever, women, I don't know. Anyway, so then she
Still refusing to get dressed.
So then Tilda hears like somebody say, "Pervert, filthy, slimy pervert," and she's like, "What the fuck was that?"
Oh no.
And then she's like, "Must have been my imagination." And then she takes her shirt off, and then she's about to put another one on, and the killer like starts, grabbing her, and then he cuts a hole through the shirt. We get this cool shot of her face, her like reaction through the hole of the shirt, and then he just like slits her throat, and like blood like shoots into her face, and it's like this really stylized over the top death. I love it. And then she fucking dies, and then he's just like what's her name, hears Tilda knock something over, and she's like, Tilda, and then she starts walking downstairs. The killer uses his razor to break a light bulb, because that's how that works, and then pops like a fucking balloon. And then the woman goes downstairs, sees Tilda's body, freaks out. The killer slashes her from behind, and then she falls to the floor, and then he slits her throat, and she breaks her head through a pane of glass on the staircase, and her head just kind of hangs, and it looks fucking cool. And that's the poster for the movie. It's dope as shit. I love it. And in the UK, it was censored with a red ribbon, which is somehow more disturbing than if they had just left the slit throat. But, whatever. She's dead. He takes pictures of it. That's it. And then I think this is the part where some, like, I guess the daughter of the housekeeper of the hotel or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. And then because I'm trying to remember when the other letter gets put in, but yeah, she goes up there and she's all like, "Oh hey, I'm gonna fix your fucking plumbing or whatever," which feels like the start of a porno, but it isn't. So she walks in, she fixes the water or whatever, the heat or
Turns the water heater back on.
Yeah, she does
because
that.
This incompetent fucking idiot couldn't push a button.
Well, he didn't know where it was, so
He didn't look.
yeah. Well, it's Rome. Who knows how it is over there? I don't. But then she leaves as Anne is coming in, and Anne's like, "Oh, you don't waste any time, do you?" And then Peter's like, "That's jailbait. All right, that's jailbait. I ain't fucking with that." And then he's like personally insulted. Anne decides to go and make some coffee, I think. And then at this point, the killer comes and brings the other fucking letter. And they don't notice it until they're about to leave. And Peter's like, "What the fuck?
When did this get here?"
And
And
then-
Anne's like, "It wasn't there a minute ago." It's like, "Well, when did it get here?" "I don't know. Maybe just a minute ago."
And then
Bitch,
yeah.
you just said it wasn't there a minute ago.
And then she leaves. Or then Peter runs out looking for the killer, doesn't see him, opens up the letter, and it says in Latin something about, "and so passes the age of Lesbos," or whatever. And that's a little weird. But
Peter's like, "I guess our killer is smart.
yeah, I guess our killer is a sophisticated man. Woo.
Practiced in
And then he goes to, like, this is when he goes to the interview where Cristiano Berti is.
Cristiano.
And Cristiano Berti just starts grilling him. Not really, but he's just said he's like Tenebrae is a novel about perversion and its effects on society and shit like that. He sounded like a fucking right-wing politician, and he's just like, it's bad. And then Peter Neal's just like, no. He's like, that's not.
Not what the book is.
It's not. He's like, that's not what the book is about. He's like, oh, but there's characters in your novel that are degenerates, and he's like, hey, who says they're deviants? And he's like, who says they're deviants? He's like, yeah, there's a character that's gay, but like, he's perfectly happy, and he's got a good relationship and everything.
He's a deviant.
And then he's like, but I wouldn't say he's abhorrent or whatever. And then Bertie like latches onto that, and he's like, what would you say is abhorrent then? He's like, or deviancy, like what would you say that is? He's like I was raised strict Catholic. He's like, but I believe in abortion, I believe in divorce. He's like, that would make me a deviant by strict Catholic terms, and that's why Catholicism's stupid. Anyway, so
Sorry.
Hey, wait, I'm just gonna say what I want here. I don't care anymore. I'm tired. All right, so. You get to complain about Ironheart, I get to complain about Catholicism. It all comes full
Man,
circle.
I got a pentagram on me, so
Yeah. So we all, it's whatever. So then Peter Neal's like, this is going to be an afternoon show. Do you want to get this heavy? And then he's like, well, I guess not. It's just that
I'm just a creep.
Yeah, Birdie's a creepy guy, and there's a reason for that. But
But never once did he said, "What the hell am I doing here?"
yeah, it's a good one, Justin. I'll be sure to remember that after I kill you. Anyway,
I hope you do.
So I won't. So then
remember you.
they do the talk show,
I'm just thinking about Avengers.
and they do the talk show. Yeah, you would be. They do the talk show, and then they leave, and like Peter Neal's talking to Germani outside, and Germani's like, I've read all those books, Agatha Christie, Arthur Conan Doyle, all that shit. He's like, and you know what? I've never been able to guess the killer. And he's like, oh, that's funny. And then he just leaves. And then Peter Neal leaves after that. And there's some banter between Germani and Altieri. And then they go back to Peter Neal's place, and Peter Neal's like trying to figure out. He's like, is it somebody I know that's the killer? And Anne's like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's Jane, because he thinks he sees Jane all of a sudden at some point, which is his ex-wife, who's now in Rome, I guess. Or not his ex-wife, his fiancée, who's now in Rome or whatever. He thinks he sees her, and then he's like, oh, it can't be. And then he, does whatever. But yeah, so he's like, it can't be Jane. And then Anne's like, I think Jane's the one that ruined your bag, because that's what happened to his bag that I forgot to mention, is it was ruined. It was ruined. It was like paint was put all over his tracksuit, and there was like a watch he was going to give to Anne that was destroyed. And Peter was like, who could have done this? Like, he was voicing a fucking line in House of the Dead.
I don't know, genius. Maybe if you didn't just drop your bag in front of some random stranger, that wouldn't have happened.
Right? Anyway, so he... he's thinking about all that, and then Marie, I think, brings in like a typewriter from Balmer, which is a typewriter that Peter Neal already has because Anne got him a typewriter, and that's another thing. There's 2 typewriters now. Whoa, thematic. But then
These are getting kooky. No.
so then but then she leaves with Johnny, and Johnny seems like he's gonna hit it and quit it or whatever, but he doesn't because then she's on a bike with somebody else when Anne's leaving to go somewhere, and I don't remember if that's when Anne sees. That's not when Anne sees Jane, but then Anne's going somewhere, and then the Mary Ann, whatever her name is driving off with some guy. Some other stuff happens that I can't remember right now, because I didn't take notes while watching the movie. But then we get to a part where let me see. Hold on. Let me see. What am I looking for here? We get to the part where, Marie's on the bike with her boyfriend or whatever, I guess. And then
She gets kicked off.
she gets kicked off because like she's mad about something that he said or something.
But he won't even say anything.
And then she's like, "Go fuck yourself." And then she says "bastard" and spits.
Patooey.
And then she starts walking in a Doberman, I want to say. Is that a Doberman?
It looked like a Doberman.
A Doberman starts barking at her. He's hungry. He hadn't eaten, and he starts barking at her. And then he's like, he's behind a gate or a fence, and then he climbs the fence and chases after her. And there's an extended chase sequence of her getting terrorized by a fucking dog that leads her to the killer's house. And we know it's the killer's house because the killer is looking for his next victim, and he decides on a prostitute. But when he's leaving his little secret base, he leaves his keys in the door, and he doesn't realize he leaves his keys in the door until he's at the prostitute hangout, I guess is what you'd call it. I don't know. I'm not a prostitute, but he realizes he left it. The girl gets chased there. She discovers
all the pictures and whatnot, sees the evidence of, this dude's been killing people. So she tries to take it, and then on her way out,
Justin coming in clutch.
Stupidly stops to use the phone in the killer's house.
Well, she doesn't know well, I guess she would know at that point.
She would know at that point.
Yeah, I was
She
gonna
saw the damn
say.
pictures.
I was gonna say she would know at that point, huh?
And then she sees the killer, and she's like, "Oh, help me! There was this dog.
Spy.
It was attacking me."
Filthy little spy.
Yeah, then that dude starts saying "spy."
So then he chases her out, and she gets out of the sliding door, slams his hand in the sliding door.
Boom! Again. Oh, it happened twice.
Thematic.
Thematic.
And then he drops the razor, and he grabs an axe, chases after her. She tries to climb a fence, she fails, and he fucking chops her twice in the stomach, and she dies.
Chop, chop.
And then he sends a letter saying, "I mourn for this girl because I had to kill her so that way I could keep doing what I wanted. Everybody's gonna die." He's like, "And I'm gonna go after the great corruptor himself next."
Yeah.
And then there's a news reporter on TV that's like, "Several businessmen and politicians are leaving town now based on this new letter." And I'm like, "That's cute. That's a good joke."
Because they're corrupt.
And then again, we get a scene of Peter Neal and company trying to figure out who the killer is, and he posits as this Cristiano Berti because the body was found close to his house, and he only lives a few blocks away from where Peter Neal's staying. So then him and Johnny decide to go look for it, and after they leave, you get this panning shot where we see a statue or a sculpture with a point to it, and it not only does it foreshadow something that happens later on in the movie that's very significant, but it also is symbolic of the fact that the story is about to take a change. It's about to, one thing ends and another begins, and they're reflections of each other because that plays into the idea of doubles and all this other shit, dual personalities, all that fun stuff. A lot of great thematic elements in this fucking movie.
This movie's smarter than a 5th grader.
Yes, at least. But not hard to be smarter than a 5th grader for being
Apparently it is because of that show.
Jeff Foxworthy. Anyway, so then what's his name? Peter Neal and Johnny show up at Bertie's place, and you see that it's the killer's house. So Justin was like, "I was right," and then he starts freaking out. He starts having a victory lap. George kills him. You're actually talking to Justin's. You're talking to Justin's ghost right now.
I might as well be a ghost.
Yeah, he's sad. Anyway, so they Johnny and Peter split up. Johnny goes and watches Bertie, and then
through the window, and then Birdie gets like, you think it's no, you hear him talking, and then axe to the head.
Yeah, you hear somebody talking. You hear somebody saying, "Yes, it was me. I killed them all along.
Killed them all.
I killed them all." And then he just gets an axe to the fucking head.
And then he comically pulls it out.
He pulls it out. What a fucking baller, dude! Imagine getting axed in the head and just being like, damn, and then falling and dying.
You think you are Jason?
Yeah, right? And then he dies, and then Johnny is traumatized by this. He looks for Peter Neal because a little statue's thrown through the window. And he looks for Peter Neal, and Peter Neal's like, "Oh, fuck, I fell on me head, and I got blood."
He got hit by a rock.
He got hit by a rock. He's a Charlie Brown character. So then, Johnny takes Peter away, back to the place.
It's like, what did you see, Johnny?
And Johnny's haunted by what he saw, which was a man getting his head caved in by an axe. And
Johnny's a wimp.
And because Justin has watched real people die a lot, and that makes him a cool person. TM.
It doesn't make me cool.
So anyway, so Johnny's like crying on the way home, and then I think, is this the part where like Anne and Peter like, is this where they fuck or whatever? I think.
They didn't do anything. She just kissed him.
But then she's like, "We're gonna forget about this, okay?" In the morning, nothing happened. And then Peter's like, "Nothing happened."
Nothing.
And then next morning, Peter, ding dong ditched, whatever, and they go to a crime scene. Johnny drives him to the crime scene, and on the way, Johnny almost gets into an accident. Oh, a second accident. Isn't that crazy? And then what's great about this accident, though, is that after it happens, a guy gets out of his car and goes, "Hey!" And then that's it.
That's it.
No other sound. Just the man getting out of his car going, "Hey!" And it's amazing. I love it. But, Johnny drops Peter off, and he talks with Germani a bit. They reference a quote from an Arthur Conan Doyle book and incorrectly attribute it to the Hounds of Baskerville. It's actually from, what was it? It's from fucking, where is it? It's, The Sign of Four is the book it's actually from. And the quote is something along the lines of, when you have eliminated the impossible, then what remains, no matter how improbable, has to be the truth. And he's trying to liken it to the case. And, Germani just tells Peter, "Hey, if you think of anything else, just let me know." And then Peter's like, okay. So then he goes to his agent's office, and Bulmer's like, "Hey, you got to leave town, buddy, because
Just get the fuck out."
Just get the fuck out. Or no. It's Germani's the one that wants him to leave town.
I'm already about to leave. Don't worry.
And then Balmer's like, "No." He's like, "You can't. You can't leave. We got a book tour and all this other stuff." And he's like, "I'm not risking my life. The killer threatened me." And then he leaves after this weird video. After this weird video call that he does with his secretary, that Balmer does with his secretary, Peter leaves, and then Balmer goes to the door and opens it, and behind the door is Jane, and they start making out. It's salacious. It's something else. I couldn't think of another.
Disgusting.
I couldn't think of another. It was salacious. It was disgusting. It was fucking, God, I can't think of another adjective. I'm ruining the bit.
It's just like the big dramatic twist on a soap opera.
Yes.
You hear the piano cue as they start kissing, and then you're like, "Oh my God."
And then Jane's like, "Oh, I was so nervous. I heard his voice through the other side of the door. I thought he was still here. What if he knows about us? I feel so sleazy." And all this other shit. And then,
don't know shit. We can keep doing this.
And then Balmer's like, "Nah, we good. You want to go get lunch, though?" And then she's like, "Yeah." And then she goes back to her apartment, finds a package with some red high heels in it. Very nice.
Nice.
Red high heels. And then we get another flashback because we go to a first-person view of a man walking up to a bar getting water so he can take his pills. And when he's taking these pills, we see the woman from the beach walking with, I guess, another guy that she's been slanging. I don't know. Yeah. And the other guy leaves, and then, this guy's lurking in the bushes, and then he sees her. The woman recognizes her. He rushes her with a knife and stabs her twice.
In the stomach.
And then she's like, "Ooh!" And then, it cuts. And it cuts back to...
I'm dead.
To the eye. I almost gave it away. It's spoilers, whatever. But cuts back to the dude's eye dilating, and then it cuts to Balmer, and he's just like enjoying himself. Like he's just hanging out in Rome, just watching. He's watching a couple fight. He's watching some kids fuck around with a ball, and
Watching two other people fight.
And then he stands up, and then he gets bumped by somebody, and then eventually he turns around because the shadow overtakes him. He turns around and he recognizes the person that's in front of him, and then he gets stabbed multiple times.
Boom.
And he dies. And the woman that was arguing with her boyfriend or whatever finds him, and she freaks out and screams. And then you see a pair of red heels walking to the scene of the crime, and then you see them walking away.
Because it was Jane.
Classic red herring. Classic red herring.
Oh, because the shoes were red. You get it?
Oh!
This movie's so fucking clever.
It's just trying to trick you. That's all. And so then Peter leaves Rome, takes off on a plane. And
I'm on a plane. He can't complain.
And Jane, how dare you? And then Jane calls
Kurt Cobain.
And Jane calls Anne, and she's like, "Oh, fucking, I'm gonna kill myself. I'm a fucking terrible person.
Come here, Anne. I need your help.
Come here. I need to talk about everything that I've done."
And she's so fucking dramatic about it, too.
I love it. She's so like over the top. It's so good.
I swear to God, it's just a TV soap
Oh,
opera,
I
this
love
movie.
it. I love it so much.
Every time that shit like that happened, I just thought of like the little in-between scenes from one of the Five Nights at Freddy games.
I bet. Yeah, you would. Markiplier ass. Anyway, anyway, so Anne decides to take off to go for Jane, and then in between all of this, a lot of things happen very quickly. One of the things that happens is Johnny goes back to the scene of the crime because he just can't get it out of his head, and he knows he missed something. So he goes there, and he realizes that when he saw Birdie get murdered, Birdie was the one saying, "I did it, I killed them all." And he's like, well,
That doesn't make sense.
he's like, if Birdie was the killer, then, who killed him? So then he goes back to his car, and before he gets back into his car, a killer took the keys out of the car. And so that way Johnny couldn't start the car. And then Johnny gets strangled with a rope. And Johnny looks behind and recognizes the person and dies. And then we see the black glove grab an axe. And then
that was hidden very conveniently in a tree that just has enough space to hide an axe.
it's a good hiding place, bro. Anyway.
The tree grew for that
Rich
purpose.
people, bro. I don't know. Opulence, who cares? Anyway, so...
Season of opulence.
So anyway, then there's a scene where Germani and Altieri are at the police station and two people are fighting. Whoa, the thematic. And then Altieri goes up to Bulmer, or not Bulmer, fuck. Altieri goes up to Germani and tells him, "Oh, this is Bulmer's like maid or whatever." And she said that she knows that Bulmer was having an affair with Jane, and I'm going to take her statement and then do whatever. And Germani's like, okay.
But she only speaks Spanish and some other language.
I think it was like, I don't know the other language. It was something in Spanish. But so she, gets the statement.
And then she says, "Hasta luego," and I'm like, who the fuck are you, Leon Kennedy?
Yeah, Leon S. Kennedy. That's a reference that other 25 to 30 year olds will get.
Hey, we're getting the remake soon. Don't worry.
Can't wait. Anyway, but so then we cut to Jane, and she's just hanging out in the fucking apartment with a gun. Like she's not pointing it at herself. It's like she's pointing it at the door.
Well, she had it pointed at herself slightly a little bit.
Yeah, she's crazy. It doesn't matter.
Or she just looked like someone who doesn't know how to handle a gun.
Probably that. But she's waiting for Anne, and she hears a window crash, and she freaks out, and then she sits back down and relaxes, and her hand's in front of a window, or her arm's in front of a window, and then the window crashes, and an axe comes down and chops her fucking hand off.
Like, just overly bloody too.
It's insane. It's just, and Dario Argento was talking about how he was partially inspired by like Mayan and Aztec sacrificial rituals, because he said what they would make them do is they would make the person that was to be executed run up the temple and like at the risk of getting cut or whatever. They'd run up the temple, and by the time they got up to the temple, they'd be exhausted, so they'd collapse. And it was at that point that they'd stab them in the heart, and all the blood that was pumping through their heart would just shoot out like a geyser. And he said, so I thought to myself, well, if you get your arm cut off and you're already stressed out, your veins are going to be pumping blood. He's like, so it makes sense to me. It made sense to me the blood would just shoot out like crazy. So then he did that, and she like paints the wall. She gets hacked in the back. She turns around and collapses and then gets hacked up. And for some reason, the shots of her getting like hacked up as she's already like on the ground and like just her body moving, for some reason, those get me. But she's dying and she's dead. And then
she's dying. She's dead.
And she's dead. And then we get a shot of Anne driving, and then we get a shot of a car pulling up, or we get one final flashback, which is of the woman on the beach getting murdered and then the person taking the shoes. So you realize that the person that took the shoes is the person that gave the shoes to Jane, and it's all connected.
It's all connected.
But then a car drives up, and a woman walks in. You think it's Anne.
I thought it was Anne.
It's probably Anne, and she gets her back hacked by the axe, and she dies.
Axe to the back.
And then we get a dramatic pan to find out that the killer is none other than the writer himself, Peter Neal. Yay!
Dun, dun,
Woo,
dun.
everybody! It's fucking Peter Neal. Yeah!
It
Woo.
didn't pay off that much.
Applause! Yeah! Fucking woo! Oh, shit! It's fucking Peter Neal.
Damn it, Neil.
Out here again, wreaking havoc. And then he's like, "Oh no, Anne, I'm so sorry."
Peter Neal out here, Peter peeling these girls.
And then Germani walks in, and he's like, "Oh, what the fuck did you do? What the fuck did you do?"
No, he doesn't.
And then he doesn't say any of that. No, I was a little loud. I'm sorry.
What did you do, Peter? No.
And then Anne walks in, and Peter's
she just
like,
starts screaming.
And Peter's like, "What, Anne?" And then he looks at the body, and it's Altieri, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" And then Germani's like, "Yeah, Altieri was too headstrong." He's like, "I told her to wait for me, but she went ahead." He's like, "And now you killed her." And he's like, "Well, I didn't mean to." And then he's like,
"Oh shit."
And then Germani's like, when you eliminate the impossible, what remains, no matter how improbable, has to be the truth. And he's like, "But I didn't kill." He's like, "I didn't kill the other women." He's like, "I know, that would have been impossible."
Yeah.
And then he's like, You wanted Cristiano you wanted his legacy to continue.
The Razor Killer.
So he could take the blame for these other murders. The Razor Killer. So he could take the blame for the other murders. And then Peter Neal's like, I love Anthony Francisco's, I think that's how you say his name, performance in this scene, because he plays crazy very well. And he's like, he starts laughing, and he's like, once I figured out that Cristiano Berti was the killer, and it wasn't that hard to figure out, he's like, the rest of it was like writing a book, and he like freaks out. and then Germani's like, "All right, come on, you fucking idiot, let's go." And then, Peter Neal,
like, "Nah, I'm going to cut my own throat."
He stands up. I was getting to that. I'm trying to build suspense, Justin. He stands up, and he starts walking away, and he like reaches into his pocket, and you just hear like him cutting something, and then it just cuts to him like slitting his own throat, and then he just fucking dies. And then Germani's like, and then Anne's like, "No, Peter.
Oh, no, poor Peter."
And then Germani's like,
overly sad for this dude who just killed people.
Yeah, right? I mean, it happens. I'd be sad. And then Germani's like, "Come on, let's go. We got to get out of here." And then Germani kind of explains everything to her about how, like, in his book, he wrote about killing this woman on the beach that sexually humiliated him, and he internalized it and dealt with it for years. But it broke.
His books were the confession.
And he went crazy and killed all these people. Nobody could pin it on him, though, and all this other shit. And Germani pretty much explains all this to Anne. And then Germani, for some reason, wants to go back into the house.
Yeah, he had no reason to go back.
So he goes back into the house, and he finds that Peter's body is gone. He walks up to the razor, and the razor is a dummy razor. It's like a toy razor that squirts blood out of the edge of it. It's dull and everything. And he's like, "Fuck!" So then he that was loud too. I'm sorry. So that he looks around for a bit, and he looks down. And my favorite shot of the movie, it's a shot of just him crouching down to grab a napkin, and behind him is Peter Neal. Dope ass shot. And then Germani picks up the napkin and starts walking off, and Peter Neal hacks him in the back. Germani dies. And as Germani dies, he like knocks over this very
Ugly
crazy,
statue.
very crazy looking sculpture with like a bunch of pointy bits to it, and it gets like stuck on the door. And Anne hears this somehow, despite the rain and being in a
despite all the
fucking car.
noise.
She hears this and runs inside and tries to push the door open. And as she finally pushes the door open, Peter's ready to kill her. And she pushes the door open. The sculpture moves, and a piece of the thing impales Peter into the wall. And he like struggles to try to pull it out, and it makes me uncomfortable every time as Anne just starts screaming. And the movie ends with Peter Neal dying and Anne continuing to scream. And that is Tenebrae. Iconic. Fantastic.
Is it though?
I love it.
It's good.
I love this fucking
It's all
movie.
right.
I love this movie.
You should watch it.
I love
even
this
though
movie.
we just spoiled it.
Yeah, that's why I said to watch it first, okay?
Watch it first.
I got some things I want to go over, though. So in
Do you?
America... Yeah, Justin, I do. Who would have thought?
No, I'm just kidding.
Who would have thought? Well, you want to
Who
go
would've
home?
thought it? No.
Go home. I'll finish this.
I wanna
Fuck
go
you.
home.
Anyway, so in America, this movie was released under the title of Unsane.
What a fucking dumb title.
That's exactly
What a fucking dumb
what Maitland McDonough said, who is the woman that did the commentary track, one of 3 commentary tracks for this movie. And she said that she felt that was the stupidest fucking name you could give to the movie. It's one of the worst movie titles of all time. I also want to note that she said that the plot holes in Dario Argento's films aren't that big of a deal. She says that plot holes are what assholes that have no imagination use to discredit a film. She said that discrediting a film with plot holes is the viewer being unwilling to accept something irrational in a film that doesn't necessarily have a perfect linear narrative. She's kind of right. Like
she's just like
she's like a art analyst. She's a film critic.
just
Whatever.
slaughtered MCU fans.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But like, and slasher fans in general, how many people complained about plot holes and like Halloween Kills and shit? It's whatever, dude. It's You're already suspending your disbelief enough to believe that a man that's like 70 years old can murder people with the strength of a fucking god. But oh no, how did he get there? That's the part that I don't get. Shut up. Shut up. Anyway, so plot holes are fine. Plot holes, it's a fucking movie. No movie's going to be airtight. No movie's going to be perfect narratively. It's fine. It's whatever. Stuff can happen off screen, Not everything has to be spoon-fed to you like you're a fucking child. Oh my God.
Fuck over it.
People just have to think when they watch movies. I'm getting mad. Pretentious John is back, all right?
Oh, he's
I'm getting
back.
mad. But anyway, I never left, to be fair. I can already hear Kale saying I never left. Okay, so anyway, Unsane's a terrible title for the movie. Unsane is about 10 minutes shorter because in America, they cut out all the violence. Well, not all the violence, but they cut out a lot of the violence. But they also cut out a lot of other shit that doesn't make any sense. And it's jarring because, like, the soundtrack will just change. It's not seamless. So it'll be, like, midway through a sound cue, and then it'll just shift to another part. So they cut out the dude waving at the beginning. They cut out a lot of...
That's the best part.
Yeah, right? They cut out the long shot at the lesbian's house. They cut out some shots of Mary or Marie or whatever the fuck her name is in the killer's house. They completely butchered Jane getting murdered. Like, completely butchered it. In fact, that was one of the most heavily censored scenes internationally. The movie is still banned in Germany. The uncut version of the movie is still banned in Germany. And in Italy...
In Germany.
Yes, in Germany,
Wow.
of all fucking places, right? And in Italy, the movie, that scene was completely cut because the actress that played Jane ended up marrying, like, a fucking prime minister of Italy. And the prime minister was like, I don't want people to see my wife die like that. Because he's a coward. Anyway, so yeah, the movie in its uncut form is still banned in Germany. And in America, Maitland McDonough talks about this, about how in order to see a Dario Argento movie, you either had to see it cut up to shit in theaters, or you had to just know somebody that had a high-quality bootleg. And she's like, and high-quality bootlegs were far and few between because they were all on VHS. And, Tenebrae was another one of those movies that was part of the video nasties list, like The Evil Dead, because the UK was like, oh, we cannot have people looking at sex and violence. Why not, you fucking cowards? Why not? God, I hate you shouldn't censor art. you shouldn't censor it.
No.
Unless that art is like overtly like demeaning towards a certain demographic or whatever, you shouldn't censor it because it's dumb. I hate it when I'm listening to a song on the radio and then they're just like, oh, can't say the fuck word. Mm-mm. And then I hear an ad with a sexual innuendo in it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I can't say the fuck word, but you can joke about like sex or whatever in a fucking ad. Go fuck yourself. I'm mad now. Anyway, so Unsane, terrible terrible way to watch the movie.
The censor thing is funny because I just started watching the Boondocks again on HBO Max.
Is it censored on HBO Max?
No.
Okay, I was about to say. I'd be so mad if it was.
Like, not even the nudity.
Okay, well, that's good. I need to rewatch the Boondocks. I haven't watched it in a minute.
I just love Ruckus's rants. I forgot how over the top some of them were. I was just like, damn, they got away with that.
Yeah, they got away with a lot, man. Adult Swim.
Until the last few seasons of that show sucked.
Yeah, well, it happens. Anyway, so I want to get into some of the thematic elements of the movie. I already talked about some of this, but like the sculpture at the end killing Peter Neal plays into the idea that like art kills people and that it can be dangerous, which is like one of the themes that the movie kind of discredits, which is that, oh, well, you write it, that's what influenced this killer and all this other stuff. But like the art killed the artist too. Like there's also that, because the only thing that could end it was the art. And it's kind of brain fucky, I think.
That's kind of stupid.
Yeah, well,
I don't
but
like
that plays into that idea.
I get that.
That people think art kills, and art doesn't necessarily kill. It depends. Well, I guess I'm conflating propaganda with art when I say that, because propaganda kills, but not art. Art doesn't kill.
It's like saying guns kill. No, guns don't kill. People kill. Thank you, American Dad.
It's an instrument though. It's like
people kill.
It's a tool though. There's
Yeah,
a reason there's a murder weapon.
Yeah, but the person did it, not the weapon.
I mean, that the weapon was used.
But the person has the brain.
But the weapon was used.
But the weapon didn't do it itself.
But what would the person have done if he didn't have access to that weapon is the main question.
Use his hands?
Yeah, but like, I don't think a lot of strong people are using guns to kill people. I don't think any of the mass shooters that I've seen could like take me of all fucking people in a fight. That's why they need a gun. It's a coward's weapon. That's like a point that's made in what, like fucking, I don't know, Dark Knight maybe? I don't know. There's some action movie that makes that claim too. It's good. It's good. But anyway, yeah, art doesn't kill people or whatever. But in this case, it did. Which it's weird to me because Argento was making the point that like art isn't dangerous, or art shouldn't be viewed as dangerous. I think it was more of an irony thing, because the whole thing with Tenebrae is that this was like him having fun with the critics that usually bug him. So I feel like he did that kind of as a fuck you, just to be like, oh look, art's killing people. Oh no.
Better watch out.
I feel it's like that. And anyway, so like I said before, Tenebrae was Argento's return to giallo after making Suspiria and Inferno. And Argento, in an interview, was talking about how he wanted the murders to feel almost like they were part of like he wanted them to feel clean and like they were like a sacred ceremony, which is also, I think, he pulled from the executions.
Yeah.
And then Daria Nicolodi, there's an interview with her on the Blu-ray. She wanted to make another supernatural horror movie, so she was a little disappointed that Argento did Tenebrae. But during the production of the movie, Argento and Nicolodi were like kind of like in an entanglement. So Argento got very jealous of Anthony Francesco. I don't think that's how you say his name, whatever. But of Peter Neal's actor, because they were bonding over their love of like stage plays and shit. And Argento would like get really mad, so he would like make any scenes they had together like really tortuous and shitty. And that scream at the end is her actual scream, and she said that was her way of kind of letting all that shit out, all that anger that she had about the production just out. She's like, because Argento told me just to scream a little bit. She's like, but I just kept fucking screaming. She's like, I did not. She's like, I went until they made me stop. She's like, I did not. That was my way of getting everything out.
Fuck.
And her voice her voice in the film outside of that scream though is dubbed over, and she said that most of her roles that she's done in English were dubbed over. R.I.P. to her too, by the way. She died in 2020. Don't know how, but she died in 2020. So that's sad. Anthony, what's his name, is dead too. He died earlier. I think he died in like the 2010s. But one of the inspirations for Tenebrae that Argento had was while he was writing it in Los Angeles, he kept getting calls from someone that claimed that his films had ruined his life. And at one point, Argento moved to another place in the city, but the caller found him at the new place. So at the urging of his agent, he's like, just go back to Italy. He's like, and just finish it there. So he did. And Argento also felt that Italy gave the film the most restrictive rating it could have because of its depiction of gay characters, because at the time, Italy was very conservative when it came to homosexual imagery, much less the fact that there's a trans woman in this, but he thinks that's why they gave it a, I think the highest rating, it was like 18 plus or something. And that, made it to where less people would be able to go see it, all that shit. The usual issues that come with the rating systems that are like around the world. But yeah, obviously things have changed since then, since the movie, I think, is available uncut in Italy now and in the UK, because attitudes have changed. Thank God. Thank God art doesn't get censored anymore.
People just don't care.
It makes me happy. Yeah, and they shouldn't. Exactly. That's the point. They shouldn't care.
It's like how theater employees don't even bother checking your ID anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, they haven't done that in a while, huh?
And now you can buy alcohol.
Also, we're older, so I mean, they're not gonna ask us. But anyway,
nobody thinks I'm as old as I am.
I don't know. You look like your rage is aging you, Justin. I don't think you understand that. But part of the reason that Argento returned to giallo with this film was because he was annoyed that other directors were copying the style that he created. So, like I said, he kind of popularized giallo with Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Cat o' Nine Tails, Four Fireflies on Grey Velvet, whatever. Deep Red. Deep Red. Cat in the Hat is the most infamous giallo film because it has a cover of Getting Better by the Beatles sung by Smash Mouth. And it's awful. I'm never going to forgive you for that, Kale. I'm never going to forgive you for cursing me with that knowledge. Okay? I'm upset. All right? I'm upset. Anyway, so he was annoyed, so he was like, well, I'm going to show him how it's done. And according to a lot of people, this is the last good movie he ever made. And Argento has made well over like 20 or 30 movies.
Jeez.
Just since then. He made an adaptation of Dracula that apparently sucked shit.
Well, Dracula's boring anyway.
You're boring. But anyway, he recently returned to giallo with a movie called Dark Glasses that people say just makes you wish it had come out in the 80s. Just makes you wish that it was his old movies. Which is...
Is that good?
No. It makes you wish that you were watching his older movies.
Oh.
That's what I meant. Another analytical thing is that the film is split up into two halves that are separated by the pan shot to the sculpture. You have the hat where you have the half where Cristiano Berti, and Justin's rolling his eyes. He doesn't want to hear any of this. But you have the half where Cristiano Berti's killing people, and it's very clinical and precise, very clean. He's got a plan. And then when it shifts, you have the murders that Peter Neal commits that are very messy, very personal. He's only killing people that have personally wronged him. And it's like a reflection of each other.
One's the clean guy, one's the fucking dumbass. Got it.
Yes, exactly. Part of the video nasties, yeah, okay, and everything else I already said. Like the fact that in the UK it was the fucking poster was censored with a red ribbon. That's
so stupid.
That's so weird.
How does that even make sense?
Like it looks that's somehow more disturbing. Like I don't understand how they thought like, oh yeah, this looks good. It's stupid, dude. Anyway, but censorship is stupid. We've been over this.
Very stupid.
But yeah, that's Tenebrae. There's a lot of layers to it, a lot of stuff that like I can't even touch on. Like there's stuff that goes into how Argento kind of explicitly made Peter Neal a stand-in for himself, and he was kind of having fun with his critics by making him the killer and then having him killed by his own art, like I mentioned earlier, and how Berti kind of exists as what people think Argento is this person that or like what people think, the type of person that people think that Argento creates, you know, this guy that's inspired by his work to kill people
Yeah.
and does all this stuff that happens, but like it's not the work that does it. It's the person's already fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like
It's like people blaming, what was it, Columbine on Doom?
yeah, they blame Columbine on Doom and Marilyn Manson. And, you know, that's kind of silly because that had nothing to do with it. They were already fucking bullied and shitty and, you know, they already had their minds made up. They were going to do it one way or the other. Just because they played Doom doesn't mean anything. But, you know, that's what he was getting at was, you know, you have how Bertie is like the stereotypical giallo killer, the kind that kills women, the kind that usually finds them in moments where they're in moments of undress and stuff, and then Peter Neal is killing out of passion, you know, and there's that difference there. There's a bunch of other stuff in the book that came with the Blu-ray. The essays are very interesting to read. I thought I don't remember a lot of them because I'm stupid and I don't retain knowledge from what I read very often.
Me either.
But it's interesting to read about, and I think it's pretty cool. I love this movie a lot. I'm glad that I have another genre of slasher/horror to dive into because giallo is right up my alley. It's cheesy, it's schlocky, it's dramatic, it's stylized, it's gory, it's bloody, it's beautifully bloody too. That's one thing I want to talk about. Is I love how I just love how stylized the murders are. I love how it's almost like it's a work of art, and that's what Argento talked about. He talks about how he wanted to make the killings and giallo in general like art.
Art is murder.
Yes, yes, yes. If you mention that band again, I'll murder you.
Hey.
But yeah, it's artistic, and you know, that has I guess subconsciously having seen killings from giallo inspired stuff has influenced my own writing because I've started to write stories. I'm not going to say I've written, but I've started to write stories and outline stories. And, you know, that the idea of making a murder something artistic is something that I've dabbled with because I think that's super interesting and cool. I just think it's fun. I don't know.
There's a method to it.
Yeah, there's a method to it, obviously.
Dexter.
Yeah, but that's not a good show. Anyway,
that is a good show.
It stopped being good after season 2. Fight me anyway.
Fuck you.
It stopped being good after season 2. How are you gonna take Dokes and start to make him interesting, and then just kill him? And then how are you gonna make him a veteran of the U.S. Army, and then have him not check the fucking pilot light that he saw get turned on before trying to escape? How are you gonna have him do all of that? How are you gonna make him interesting? It's like in fucking Walking Dead.
He wasn't interesting.
No, yes, he was. They were starting to make him interesting.
It would have been a cool. Did not carry anything.
It would have been a cool dynamic.
He was an obstacle.
Where and that would have been cool. It would have been something different than Dexter just meeting a serial killer that just happens to kill better than him or whatever the fuck. It's whatever. It's like The Walking Dead where Merle gets interesting right before he fucking dies, and then I'm like, cool, awesome. I like Michael Rooker. I guess not anymore. I hate it when shows do that shit. I hate it so much. I really want to spoil Black Panther because I'm mad, about something that happened in that too.
What happened?
Okay, so spoilers for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Sorry.
Half of you aren't gonna care, but anyway. So Shuri's Black Panther now.
Of course.
But I don't. It felt
forced.
Rushed, not forced. It didn't feel forced. It felt rushed because Shuri's the Black Panther in the comics for a little bit, but it felt like there was no build up to it. It kind of felt like it just happened.
How do they explain?
And the reason it happens is because Shuri's got all this rage and anger from the fact that T'Challa's dead and she couldn't save her and all that, or save him and all that. And Namor is just Killmonger again, but not as interesting to me because Namor is I don't like people. I don't want people to discover that my people exist. So,
bitch, they already know they exist.
Well, I don't think they did.
They popped up on that map.
For what? Are you talking about Wakanda or are you talking about Namor's people?
Namor's people.
Oh, well,
there'd already been a mention of them before.
Oh, well. Either way. He's like, oh, I told myself that I'd fight back whenever I realized they would become close to discovering us because I want to protect my people and all that. And, them searching for vibranium because they have a lot of vibranium too. Them searching for vibranium under the water tells me that time's coming. He's like, so I want to kill the scientist who was Ironheart. And then Shuri's like, no, you can't do that. That's wrong. And then Namor's like, look, I just want to protect my people. But then Namor also like befriends Shuri. But then he also tells Shuri's mom, hey, I'll kill her though if you don't fucking give me the scientist. If you don't let me kill the scientist, I'll kill your daughter. I don't really give a shit. So Namor's pretty ruthless. But it's just Killmonger again. It's just that idea of like, oh, I want to kill everybody that wronged me, and I want to kill all the people that enslaved my people, and all this other shit. But it's less interesting because Killmonger was just a better villain. I don't know. I like Michael B. Jordan as an actor too. Maybe that plays into it. But either way, it's all that shit again. And Namor attacks Wakanda because they took Ironheart away or whatever. And then because the Queen sends Lupita Nyong'o's character to save Ironheart and Shuri. She does. And they go back to Wakanda. Namor's army attacks Wakanda, kills the Queen because I think the Queen gets like the little like throne room gets put underwater or whatever, and the Queen saves Ironheart, and then she dies. And then that's when Shuri decides to work on remaking a synthetic version of the plant that she takes to become Black Panther. And I just felt like there wasn't any build up to it, because that's not how the Black Panther title is usually passed on. Whatever, I get it. Chadwick Boseman died. You did what you had to do, but like, I don't know. It just felt rushed, and there wasn't any build up to it. It literally just happens. Like it felt like pacing wise, it felt like it literally just happened after the Queen died, and I was like, okay, that's dumb, kinda. But whatever. So then she goes into the astral plane, whatever. She sees Killmonger because she's got all that rage, and Killmonger tells her like, hey, are you gonna be like your brother? Because you can be like your brother. And Shuri's like, I'm not my brother. And he's like, well, then are you gonna be like my brother? Are you gonna be like your brother and do things the right way? Or are you gonna take care of business? And then Shuri, not willing to tell anybody who she saw in her vision, decides to take it upon herself to get revenge. So we have that story where we get the vengeance arc. She kills multiple people and borderline ruins relationships with people that are close to her, mainly Lupita Nyong'o's character. I can't remember her name right now. I'm blanking on it. But mainly her character. She kills these people and almost ruins that relationship. Finally figures out a way to best Namor, because obviously Namor is a trained fighter who's also a fucking mutant, which that's confirmed in the movie too, which is kind of weird, but whatever. But Namor is a mutant, and he's very strong. He's a trained fighter. So Shuri figures out how to deprive him of his energy, which is water. Basically, is what gives him a lot of his strength and power, because he obviously absorbs it through his skin or whatever. Yeah, that's Submariner. It's whatever. And so then she figures that out. And she's able to fuck him up pretty bad. They both fuck each other up pretty bad, mind you. Like, he stabs her through the stomach with like his spear, and then he tries to go get water. She pulls the spear out. Well, she cuts it off and pulls herself off of it. And then she jumps over Namor, detonates the ship that they were fighting on, and it like burns his back up like pretty bad. And she's about to kill him. And as if it took a page out of The Last of Us Part 2, she sees a vision of her mother and decides not to. And then they broke her peace. And, she's like, I won't tell anybody about your people if, you do this. I don't remember the exact agreement, because a lot of it was set up for something else later on. But call me cynical, because I know I am. But I think it would have been much more interesting if she had followed through with it, and then not only had to realize that it didn't make things better, didn't bring her mother back, but that it also made it to where she was more like Killmonger, a person that she does not like. That would have been way more interesting to me. The only plus that comes from this is that Namor, despite just being Killmonger again, was a pretty good villain. He's a cool character. I'm not going to say he's a bad character. I just didn't like that his motivations were Killmonger's. Again, that's kind of boring. I don't know. I've already seen it. Yeah. I literally just saw it 2 days before this. Like, the fuck? Like, I already saw that. And so I'm just like, do something. Give me another motivation for him. That's just Killmonger again. But so then, But at least, Marvel finally doesn't kill off a character that has potential. That's the best thing about that. But I just hate, I'm so fucking tired of this shit where it's like heavy-handed, oh, revenge is bad. Yeah, I know. Why don't you show me the consequences of revenge instead of just having characters have a weird change of heart when they've already been acting out of character to begin with? Yeah. Like, it's just, it doesn't work for me. And again, I'm cynical. I get it. I find it much more interesting when a character suffers and overcomes it than when a character stops right before the suffering's about to get really fucking bad. You know what I mean?
Just for convenience sake.
And I mean, I don't know. That bugs me from like a storytelling standpoint. I don't remember why I wanted to talk about that, but like it just bugs me because I hate that stupid fucking story decision. I don't like it. I don't like it in Last of Us Part 2. I don't like it in anything that does it. It's like if in God of War 3, Kratos beats the shit out of Zeus and he's like, you know what, Zeus? You're cool, though. I know I destroyed literally all of fucking Olympus, but I can't do this to you. You're my father. Like, that would be like that. No, Kratos has to do it and then realize what he's done once that blood high passes. And once he realizes that he has done nothing but cause death and destruction, he sees that the only option for himself is to kill himself and release hope to the people of the world because that's all he has left. And that is a good fucking ending. It's true to the character. It's true to his motivations. It's true to him not wanting to serve anybody anymore, including Athena. It's great. And then it's expanded upon in God of War, and then it looks like it's going to be expanded upon in Ragnarok from what I've played. It's great. That's how you fucking do revenge. Not pussing out at the last minute because, oh, we could have a character be bad. Why not?
We're not like them.
That's human. That's human. Like, let them live with that decision. I don't understand that. Oh my, it drives me up the fucking wall. Because, yeah, revenge doesn't bring anything good. That's the point. Let them learn that. Let them go through that. It would be much more interesting of an arc for Shuri to grapple with her being like Killmonger and no better than Killmonger. That would have been super interesting and super cool. But no, she has a change of heart. After acting out of character the whole movie, she has a change of heart to act in character again. I don't know.
It worked in Walking Dead, though.
What happened?
That aspect worked in The Walking Dead, though.
Did it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. Wait. I didn't catch up past like season 3.
Because in the end he decided not to kill Negan.
Well, Negan, they had like captured him, hadn't they? At that point.
No. Him and Rick had like one final fight, and Rick slit his throat a little bit, but not enough to kill him. And he was like, "Oh, we're gonna let you live. You're just gonna be in jail."
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's a little different because he's letting him suffer. Like he's like, well, you're gonna live with everything that you did under our captivity too.
But we're not gonna kill you and make an example like you did with our people.
Yeah, so it's that. I'd have to see it in context, but that sounds like it works better because in both cases that I mentioned, in Last of Us Part 2, Abby just gets to fucking go away. After everything Ellie's been through and done, through all the people she's murdered, Abby just gets to fucking walk free. After all the people Abby's murdered, I guess it absolves her of killing Joel. And then with this, I guess that absolves Namor of killing the Queen. Because Namor did fucking kill the Queen. Like, that's... Yeah. And Shuri's just cool with it now. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't... Like, I get it. Forgiveness. I get it. But, like, you're gonna have Shuri and the Wakandans kill multiple of Namor's people, and then Shuri almost ruin relationships with people around her just for her to not follow through. I don't like that. I don't think Rick ruined friendships and relationships only to not kill Negan. I'm sure he killed a lot of Negan's people though. But again, they took Negan in their captivity and were like, "Hey, you're a prisoner now. Go fuck yourself." Like that's a little different.
And Negan redeemed himself.
And then Negan ends up redeeming himself, which is also
also still not breaking who he is.
I mean, that's interesting. I don't know if I like it, but that's definitely more interesting than just, "Oh, you're absolved of all your sins. I forgive you at the last minute now." Like, I don't like that. You have them. Just kill them.
Because he ends up forcibly having to be with Maggie, Glenn's wife.
What?
Not like be with them. I mean, they have to work together.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say like, what the fuck?
No.
It's like that's so weird. But no, yeah, I digress though. That's just my little fucking spiel about how I don't like that cop out. It's boring. It adds nothing.
At least Maggie's like, I'm always gonna hate you for what you did, and never gonna see you as a better person. But like, I can deal with you.
See, that makes sense. That works. It's different when you just let them go. It's different when you just let them run free as if they did nothing wrong. It doesn't work because now you're still just as bad as they were because you killed all these people to get to them. It doesn't work. It doesn't work the way they think it does. That's like in Max Payne, and Max Payne was like, I'm not going to kill you. But then it made 2 and 3 more interesting because you can see that he's living with the guilt and living with the regret on top of the grief that he still has that was not absolved by killing the people that wronged him. That's what makes it interesting. And then he's able to find peace at the end after wreaking havoc in fucking Brazil and doing something and finally doing something that wasn't for him, that was for somebody else, and realizing that in helping somebody else, he could help himself. And that's great. That's a good ending for Max. It's a great ending for Max. I'm glad he's fucking happy living on a beach somewhere. That's much better than him drinking his life away. But I digress. That cop-out bugs me. I don't know.
Did they explain T'Challa's death?
Yeah, he just dies of probably cancer. It's an undisclosed disease. It starts out with him dying. Like, it starts out with, Shuri trying to get a cure for him, and then he dies.
So they just disease kill him. Okay.
Yeah,
Couldn't even give him some flashy boss fight death.
I mean, well, that would have been kind of in poor taste, if we're being honest.
That would have been better.
If there was some CG Black Panther that had an AI T'Challa voice, that would have been...
That would have been that they had to actually show that happen. I mean,
oh, you mean he just dies off
screen? He just went off in a fight.
I mean, he still dies off screen, but yeah, it's not
like he just got sick.
I mean, if it was like Thor, maybe I'd be like, yeah, he's got to die in battle. He's Norse. That's Valhalla. That's what makes sense.
Yeah, but isn't the Black Panther plant supposed to make him super immune to everything?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know anything about Black Panther, really.
I just think they should have... I personally just think they should have recast him because I agree with what my friend said, that T'Challa is a very important character to him, and to have him just die with Chadwick is a disservice to the character. And I'm gonna take his side on that. But I don't know. I mean, it's still fine. It's still an entertaining movie. Very touching tributes to Chadwick. Also, at the end, you find out Lupita Nyong'o's character has a kid. It's T'Challa's son that she named T'Challa. So he's going to be Black Panther in 20 years, I guess. But, I mean, I felt that was kind of weird because the way the movie ends, because that's a mid-credits scene where you find out all that. The way the movie ends before that is Shuri is having trouble. I would have rather it have been smaller scale and just about Shuri grieving T'Challa's loss, if we're being honest, because that's what worked the best for me. Because throughout the movie, she struggles to really reconcile with the fact that T'Challa's gone. She keeps saying stuff like, no, he's dead. He's not with us. He's not anything. And then at the end of the movie, she's in Haiti visiting Lupita Nyong'o, and she she's able to reminisce about T'Challa for the first time since he died, and she finds peace within that. And that's where the movie should have ended. There should have been no fucking mid-credits or post-credits scene if you were trying to make it a tribute, because introducing T'Challa's son just felt kind of weird and out of place to put it after this moving sequence where Shuri is finally able to mourn her brother. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, here's this.
I would have much rather it had just been a smaller, like fuck Namor and all that. I would have much rather it had been a smaller scale movie just about her mourning T'Challa. That would have been much better if it was just Wakanda mourning the king and how they struggle with that and how they have to... There doesn't need to be a conflict to find the next Black Panther. I don't know. But and then you have them setting up all the future MCU shit. Doesn't work for me. This podcast is a part MCU podcast now, I guess, by the way. Fucking, I guess. I can't wait till I give another long-winded review of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Christ. Anyway, Wakanda Forever's fine. It's a good movie. I just have issues with it thematically and from a character perspective because I'm cynical. But it's a fine movie. I think it's a good tribute to Chadwick. I think it's worth watching. It's just that, I would have just done things differently personally. Yeah. But that's why I don't make movies. So that's why I just talk about them for 3 hours in a podcast. But anyway, that was Tenebrae. You have anything else to say about it before we close this out, Justin?
Go watch it. Despite being spoiled, it's still entertaining to watch.
It's a fun time. I've watched it like probably 5 times in the past month, and I have enjoyed it every time.
If you're into like crime shows and blah blah and all that crap, you'll like this.
I've enjoyed it immensely. Next week is Army of Darkness, baby.
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah! Hail to the king!
Hail to the king!
Kale's gonna be joining us yet again for that one.
Hail to the king!
Hope you're ready for. Ooh, buddy, I'm gonna murder you. You're gonna say that next week, and I will kill you. Like I will murder you on like while we're recording. If we and next week if we pick a movie that's one of your movies, we're not doing it. All right,
Hey,
just
bullshit.
for that.
That's
Just
bullshit.
for that.
No.
Just for that.
You
Half
can't-
of the movies that we've gotten aren't even movies that I picked. They're just movies that I threw on the list because I knew of them.
Okay, well, don't do that.
They're not movies that I want to watch. Well, yeah, but I'm trying to get us content.
But I want to see you watch one of the crappy quality movies that I like.
Oh, don't worry. There's plenty of those on the list. Oh my god. But yeah, so that's where we're at. That's Tenebrae. Next week is Army of Darkness. The week after that's another one-off, and then after that is the remake for Evil Dead.
Yay!
And I think, when do you want to do the poll? You want to do the poll? I think we can do the poll. We can start the poll on the remake of Evil Dead into that next one-off, and then end the poll right before we do that one-off.
Yeah.
And then announce what the next series is going to be when we do that. We just got to narrow down which series we want to do.
Let's put it between.
I'm gonna say, because if it's Friday the 13th, we have to do Nightmare on Elm Street. That's gonna be a whole special thing.
Yeah, that's its own thing.
So I think based on what I have,
Jeepers Creepers.
no.
I have that.
I know you do, but I don't know if I want to do movies that a pedophile directed.
Oh.
Like I get it. I know I just went on this spiel about how art is important and all this shit, but like at the same time, he's a convicted pedophile that used these movies to get to victims, and that just sits weird with me. I don't like that.
It wasn't these movies.
I'll think about it. But I mean, we can put it on the list. Because I was gonna say I can put it between Child's Play, Scream, and then a third one, which I guess could be Jeepers Creepers. And then we could just have everybody vote on it. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. That's subject to change.
Yeah.
So
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out because I'm going based off of what I have, like that's either close to complete or complete as far as franchises go. And I think right now I just have Scream and Child's Play. There's also The Thing, but that's like a 2-off because if I do The Thing, we're going to have to do the fucking prequel. Anyway, so yeah, that's Tenebrae. Next week is Army of Darkness. Thanks for listening, everybody. Go subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Spotify, Apple
Follow on Facebook.
Podcasts. Follow us on Facebook. Justin's running that shit like a well-oiled machine. Follow me on Twitter because it's the ship is still sinking, and boy is it hilarious to just watch Elon Musk just fumble his way through this fucking through managing a business. But man, is it great. Follow me on Twitter at Mustachio Cage, all one word. And
One word.
My handle's Desi Ramirez because that's what my mom should have named me. You know, that's where we're at, baby. We had a good time watching this one. We'll see you next week when we do Army of Darkness. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah.